Morning guys, we've got another science experiment today. It's the first time that I've had a break in the weather to do some meaningful accuracy testing. So here are the damaged pellets from the last video. If you haven't seen the last video where I intentionally tried to damage these pellets, then you really should watch it. It's quite fun. It turns out it's an awful lot harder to damage them pellets than we anticipated it might do. This is another fresh tin from the same batch from the same sleeve. So I'm going to go and establish a 0 at 35 yards with these. And then what we'll be able to do is compare some group sizes. Now that's the best option really in this case because we are doing it outdoors, so we will have some wind and things to take into consideration. I've picked out a dozen of the least damaged ones that I could find. So they look in pretty good order. I'd expect that these would group only marginally worse than these from the fresh tin, and it may not even be noticeable at all outdoors. I've also now got here a dozen that I've picked out that have fairly bad skirt damage, and all of these have got some slight head damage on them as well. You can see there's a ding on the side of the rim of the head there. So I've got a dozen well damaged ones, a dozen that we know have been rumbled and damaged, yet they look okay. I've got a fresh tin of mint ones, and then we've also got a tin of the old BSA Elite. So these are a particularly old pellet. I've had these for over 10 years. The best thing about these was the screw top tins. I'm expecting that the JSBs, certainly both of the better quality ones, are going to outperform the BSAs. I don't know about these ones, the heavily damaged ones. They may not even hit the target cards at all. I do not know, but it will be interesting to see how the heavily damaged ones compare to a basic budget brand pellet. So let's get stuck in.
It's 8:38 AM and it's red hot. Car's already showing 28 degrees, so not ideal shooting conditions, but we'll give it a go. Right, so this is the setup. I'm going to use the katran for this. I'm going to shoot on 10 mag. I'm going to adjust the focus distance to 35 yards, which is the distance of the target out the back there. I'm going to use my shooting glove on my left hand just to stabilise the butt end of this. I'm going to have to run a few through just to establish a 0. And I've not used these particular pellets through the katran as yet, so I'm going to quickly do that now. Once I've established a 0, then I've got 5 marked cards that I'm going to put up for all the different types of pellets, and then we'll be able to do some group testing. Now there's a little bit of a breeze on. You can't really see an awful lot in here because it's a bit more sheltered, but we've got a little bit of a breeze running from right to left. I won't attempt at all to aim off to accommodate the wind or anything like that. I'm purely going to be aiming at the bull on the target. Now the elevation where them pellet strikes hit, don't worry about that too much. All we're really concerned about is actually the group sizes, not so much where they land to start with, unless of course we get anything really weird between the batches. So I will use the same aim point for all of the groups, but the position of them groups relative to the crosshair on the target, don't worry about that too much to start with. Fresh exacts. I've no idea where this is going to go. I've literally only just put the barrel back in this morning and put the scope on, so chances are I will need to make a few adjustments, but well, that's pulling some quite tight groups already. I'll pull some groups just slightly across the card, and that'll probably be good for the 0-ing, which is surprising because the barrel, as I said, has just gone back in this and the scope has literally just gone on, and I probably only need to make maybe 2 clicks of adjustment, bring that point of impact to the right a tiny bit. I wobbled a bit then. The old heartbeat's going a little bit. I'm full of coffee. And surprisingly, feels like a bit of stress filming myself shooting. You'll all be going, oh, you're doing that wrong. Right, I'm going to take you straight down there. The bottom left of that card is them last shots that I've just done. I don't even think that I'm going to bother readjusting it. So this is a bit mental. The gun's just been stripped down. I've been building the orange and black grip set that some of you have seen with a pellet that I've never used in it. Right, so that's the first group, but that there, oh, why am I always in the way? Little fingertip size group. I think we'll call that good for 0. I won't make any adjustments. So I was aiming at this little crosshair section here, so hopefully all of the other groups that we'll shoot in a minute will come in slightly high and slightly left, but at least we've got a reference point now. Right, I think now then, it's getting really hot. I think the next thing to do now then is to run through some of the known damaged ones that look okay, so let's do that now. Okay, so these are the ones that have been rumbled. I've swapped the card over and I've marked that card for the known damaged that look okay pellets. It's right down the centre. So they've got a slight breeze pushing across at the moment, but I'm not aiming off, just poking them down the middle. That one went a little bit high. There's a definite opening up of the groups at the moment. The breeze isn't noticeably any worse than it was. That one felt a little bit tighter loading, that one. Let's see where that goes. Yeah, that went quite a little bit further left, that one. That went almost an inch left. Right, I'll make this my last shot of that dozen. Right, let's go and have a look. Right, as expected, there's a bit of an opening up of the group. So look, cards marked, known damaged but clean exacts. But just as a quick comparison, that group size is almost double, but we will do some better measuring, so I'm going to go and get the next card set up. Right, this will be the one we're looking forward to. So these are the heavily damaged exacts. Right, I've got a dozen in there. These are the ones with the heavily deformed skirts and the head damage. The fresh card is out, so I wonder if we'll even actually hit the target card. I felt quite stiff going in the loader there. It felt alright loading. It didn't feel particularly tight going into the barrel. This one's got quite a pinched skirt on it and head damage, so we're bang on the elevation line a little bit to the left like the other groups, but it's probably a centimetre to the left of where I was aiming, but with that drift, still inconclusive. Let's see if we can do this all in one take. Right, nice squashed skirt and head damage. I'm going to stick that in straight away now, and hopefully that focus will run and follow me.
Peter, go away. Go.
I've got the camera on.
Hey?
I've got the camera on. Strangely, all of these last couple are running quite high, and these are quite badly damaged. So, but the last two have probably more by luck than judgment have landed right on top of each other. Oh, this one's completely squashed. The skirt of that looks like a heart shape almost. This one surely can't even. Ah yeah, he went way down left. I've still got quite a distinct group, apart from the ones that were absolutely bent to bits. I mean, this one again looks like it's got a kidney shaped skirt on there. But surprisingly, there's no major drop. I thought that given the skirt's been getting a decent seal, then you may see quite a decent drop on the actual target, but I'm really not at the moment. He says that, and that one dropped a bit further. Right, it's a dozen of those that group has opened up as we'd have expected, so let's go and have a quick look, see what we can make of that. Oh. It's only just gone 9 o'clock and it's absolutely red hot. Just sweating like a beast. Right, heavily damaged as expected. That group's opened up, but still not a terrible group considering that them pellets are absolutely trashed. I'm going to grab a cold drink and I'm going to come back and get them BSAs through. But given that the rest of the groups are surprisingly small, I'd put money on it that the katran with the CZ barrel will actually probably group quite well with them BSAs. It's a good sign, it'll show it's not pellet fussy. And for those of you that aren't pushing for the absolute nth degree in accuracy, if you're only plinking cans with your mates, spinners, just enjoying yourself, they may well mean that you don't have to spend all the money on exacts. We'll see. Right, I've just counted out a dozen of the BSA elites. I'm more curious than anything else now. It'd be nice if they do group. It seems to be not particularly fussy, even for pellets that are absolutely mullered. I mean, these have got heavy flashings on them. They're certainly not that consistent in weight, but they are quite a hard pellet. They're quite dirty, a bit like the old, they almost look like an AccuPel, but they don't tend to have much skirt damage because they are quite a hard pellet. So let's see. That's dropped a solid inch low. However, it's straight down the middle almost. Wow. I thought I'd take a bit of time, make sure I was nicely lined up with that one, and it's right on the outer blue ring. Well, that one went back straight through the same hole as the first shot, so strange. That one's just a fraction off the actual bullseye on the target, so far this probably means we've got a, I don't know, 2.5 inch group. I'll tell you what, this little katran's a lovely thing to shoot. It's so easy, it's slick, it's smooth, the trigger's nice. I like it. Right, that's a dozen of the BSA elites. That wouldn't have been too bad apart from this one down here. Don't know, we'll get these targets back home and have a look. I think what I'm going to do actually for good measure, I'm going to actually then go and shoot another card with the fresh JSBs again, just to actually pull them onto the same card. Okay, so on the same card I've just shot, there's a dozen exacts in there. Bit annoyed about that one that went a little bit high, but I'm getting pretty hot here. Right, I'm going to get these home and go and cool down a bit. Right, we're back. I've done a quick measure up of these groups. Now I've measured the widest outside points of all of these pellet strikes on here. So the mint exacts have given us a 15mm group, including this little flyer up the top, which is a bit unfortunate. That brings that group out to 15mm, which is easily covered by a 5p. Perfectly acceptable group, shot outdoors, and I wasn't making any effort to accommodate for the wind or anything like that. The known damaged but clean looking exacts, these are the most surprising really, because I guarantee that if I'd given you that tin of pellets, you'd have been none the wiser that they were going to shoot a 50% larger group. Now that measures 23mm from outside edge to outside edge, so that's just about covered by a £2 coin. Now it's not a bad group, don't get me wrong. However, the difference between that and that is noticeable, you certainly really would want tighter groups than this when you were setting your gun up for hunter field target or field target, certainly at 35 yards. The heavily damaged ones, actually they surprised me, because I was expecting these groups, I didn't necessarily even know that some of those would hit the target card at all. So that certainly shows that instead of discarding those, you can certainly keep hold of those. If you quickly ran them through sizing gear, you may well be able to get them down to sort of an inch group, which would certainly not be any good for competition use or even really pest control in most cases. However, them afternoons where you're sat on the range with your mates plinking targets on spinners, save yourself some money, use them ones. The BSA Elite, we've got one flyer down the bottom here. Now that's a bit unfortunate because that opened that group up to 52mm, so basically 2 inches. But the bulk of that group came in at 29mm, which actually, considering that them BSAs at the moment, I found them on the internet the other night for under £5 a tin. In fact, it was like £4.30 or something like that. So they are almost a quarter the price of the exacts at the moment. Any good for competition shooting? You're wasting your time really. But again, if you are new to shooting, if you're teaching the kids to shoot, if you're just on spinners, if you're just out for a nice afternoon plinking and enjoying yourself, then BSAs would be perfectly acceptable. You'll get the odd flyer, doesn't matter, you're just out to enjoy yourself. This is the surprising one though. That 50% increase in group size, that's what's thrown me a little bit here. What does it tell us really? I mean, if you get a tin of exacts that turn up and they look a little bit greyer and a little bit dirtier than what you would normally expect, then maybe they have sustained some damage. They may well have been rumbled around in the back of a van or whatever. There was no head damage or skirt damage on any of these, but of course we can see here that they have obviously sustained some damage that's you can't see by eye. Maybe you could under a magnifying glass, but we're not going to get into that on this channel, that's for sure. What we need to do next really, I suppose, is test some of the cheapest, most budget pellets that you can get. There's some out there that are absolutely terrible, because at the moment these BSAs have shown a little bit better promise than I thought they would. Interestingly, you can see the positions of the groups. All the JSBs have come in high and left. Even with these heavily damaged ones, the bulk of the group here is in much the same position as the rest of them, whereas these BSAs have come in low and left. They've got quite a heavy skirt to them, they've got quite a thick skirt, and they're quite a hard pellet, which probably suggests that there's a bit of blow by, as in they're not sealing particularly well in the barrel itself. Now there's a CZ barrel fitted to the Katran. The CZ barrels have a relatively shallow rifling profile compared to a lot of other brands. A Walther barrel has slightly more distinct lands and grooves to it. Generally, in a CZ barrel, they're quite unfussy. It would be interesting actually to run these through a few of my other Walther barreled guns. I imagine that these may group worse in a Walther barrel than they would do in a CZ barrel. I may well redo these tests at a later date with a different barrel. I'm pretty sure that with a bit of setup on the rifle, I can bring this down to sort of a 10mm outside edge to outside edge group at 35. Certainly can do with the Anschutz. But again, that's a fairly high-end bit of kit. What have we really learnt here then? Well, maybe that the BSA pellets and the other budget branded pellets are worth a try if you are not competing at the highest level. I certainly wouldn't recommend using these for any pest control. If you get a big fly like this, that's asking for trouble. That's not humane. Absolute minimum, you need something that groups like this for pest control and something more like this for your target work. Yet these ones, quite surprising. I didn't even anticipate they would hit the card. So we've also learned probably not worth chucking away them damaged ones. At least try and do something with those. Instead of throwing them away, at least throw them down range on one of them afternoons when you're just having a little relaxing shoot. Have we learned anything? Well, yeah, I think we have. So I'll catch you in the next one, guys, and see you later.